Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tea. So happy that you are here with me. And today, I've been talking about him. He's here. It's official. Kenny Rodriguez is here. Hi, Kenny.
Hey, how's it going?
So good. How are you?
Good to be on, finally. Making
I
it
know,
happen.
right? Finally, you are
Going
here.
from the back of the podcast to the front of it.
That's right. Kenny is my go-to guy for everything that you guys are seeing on my social media. And I've been talking a lot about that since the first week of this year, saying like, hey, I've got this guy. You guys have to meet him. He's amazing. He's put together my complete social media content strategy and my social media growth plan. Let me properly introduce you here, okay?
For sure.
All right, so Kenny owns Elite Branding, and they provide entrepreneurs with a customized content system that enables them to consistently share high-quality content on a daily basis to their target audience. Their goal is to help you spend less time on your social media content and more time on building your actual business and serving your clients. And yes, that has been my experience.
There we go. Mission accomplished.
Totally. Kenny, why did you get into this? Tell me your story. Tell me more about like how this all came to be.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big question. I kind of walked into it in a backwards way, actually, just being in the social media marketing space in general. About 7 years ago, I was in a completely other different business. And 7 years ago, it was a lot less common to connect with people on social media that you didn't know. It was, mostly Facebook, Instagram was relatively new, a lot less popular to just reach out to people you did not know, to sell services online. Brand deals was not really a thing at that point. All of this was very new. I like to say back then, Instagram was, selfies and salads still. You know what I mean? It was like what you're eating and what your face looked like, hopefully not at the same time, right? So I had a different business, but through that business, I was having really great experiences and seeing some success, and I was sharing that on social media. I was traveling, speaking at different places, networking with people, and sharing that all just, transparently online. And I started to just slowly grow a following of interested people, not people I knew, but people who knew me. And they wanted to either get involved with the business I was a part of and start helping with the sales aspect, or they wanted to be a customer and wanted to take part in that side of what I was doing. And it kind of just clicked for me where I was like, whoa, this is crazy, because I just started seeing the numbers in sales go up every single month, or the numbers in recruiting go up every single month. Every time I posted, I'd get people reaching out. Hey, what is it that you're doing? I want to do that too. Or, hey, how does that product work? I'd love to get some on my hands. And I just kind of started doing the math of like, dang, if I could 5 times or 10 times my platform, I could 5 times or 10 times my result, and that would be like life changing. And so I talked to every single person I knew who was trying, kind of doing what I was doing online, like posting, traveling, entrepreneurship, all of that. And I ended up connecting with some different companies that said they could give me some results. And I kind of went through, burning and turning through different companies like most people have probably at this point, except this was like 7 years ago. So there's a lot less people. Now you can probably find someone doing this in your DMs. They're telling you about, buying likes or something like that. Yeah. But I wanted real results. And, I paid different people, and a lot of times I got overpromised and then underdelivered, or their pitch was really great, but their follow through was terrible. And I just wasn't getting the results I wanted. And during this time, I was telling my network of people I was working with, people who knew me, my experience with this. And I was saying, I'm trying to do this. I tried this company, it didn't work out. Try this company, it didn't work out. And finally, I just got so fed up that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend the time, the money, and the effort and make an investment in this, because I think it's important for my business. I want to figure out how to do it myself. And it took a lot to make that happen, but I figured it out, and I started to get the results I was looking for all along. And naturally, the people in my network were like, oh, that's great. Who are you using? Like, you found like the right company finally. I was like, yeah, I did. It's me. And so long story short, those people that knew me and knew what I was trying to do, they were like, okay, great. Can you do that for me as well? So I did. And then at that point, I didn't even have a website, like accepting payment through Cash App and Zelle and things like that, just to like make it happen for other people. And then from there, they got great results. Their network wanted to know what they were doing. And, to this day, 7 years later, I've worked with probably over 1,000 Instagram accounts and social media accounts. And I've never spent a dime on advertising, ad spend, anything like that. It's all been word of mouth, person to person, people who know people that are looking for something that actually gives them the results they're looking for. Because in this space, like, probably, it's just, it's a lot of like
A lame result.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean that happens a lot in this. So I feel like I came into it with a customer perspective of like, here's all the things I didn't like in all my previous experiences. I'm going to go build a service for people that has everything I've always loved about these things, but nothing that has been a problem for me or a hurdle. So with time, social media has changed, and something I've always wanted to do is do content. But content's always been kind of like a mysterious thing because it's so personal to people, and I've always wanted to figure out a way to do it. But everything I was doing at the time with more of the growth aspect and helping people get in front of their target audience was working so well that it just didn't make sense. But with COVID happening, I had a lot more time on my hands. I wasn't traveling or doing a lot of things with my free time as I was before. So I really just started to look into like what would it be like to build an actual system that really works for people? Because we in the past handled some content clients, and it was kind of just some one-off deals, and it never really worked out long term for either party because the system, to build a system, usually a system is very concrete and structured, and there's not a lot of flexibility or customization to it. And so eventually the client would just feel like it's not their voice on the social media page anymore. It's someone else who's writing for them. And they felt like they were kind of stuck in the system of like, okay, now I have a system I'm posting, but this really cool thing just happened in my life and I can't share about it because it's not in the plan. And now I've got to post it 2 weeks from now, give it to my editor and then they'll post it and all these kind of different things. So when I went into this and wanted to say, I really want to help people with content, especially now that it's really, really relevant in how you reach people on social media. Content used to not be as important 2 or 3 years ago, but with TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels specifically, that is how you reach people. That is how you really market yourself, and that's how you build credibility in your industry as an expert. And so with that, I wanted to build something that someone could, spend less of their time and less of their effort putting out content, but actually be able to put out more, but at the same time have something that was flexible so that if something came up in their life and they wanted to post themselves, they wouldn't have to run it by someone else to do it. So, I call it like not being a slave to your own system. You can put a system in place and it can work really well. You're posting consistently, everything looks cohesive, but then you're also kind of a slave to that system of like, well, now I have to follow it. I can't do what I want to do. So we try to sit down with people and really build out something that is customizable, flexible, and really meets them where they're at and addresses their specific needs and goals, because everyone's different when it comes to social media.
Totally. And that's one of the things that I just so appreciate about your approach to all of this. The fact that there is one day out of the week, it is something that I just get to post. And clearly
Yeah.
it says on the content calendar, it's like post a photo. This is your time to do, something that's just personal from the week or from the month or whatever. And I always look forward to those days. I'm like, yeah, okay, let
Yeah.
me bring a little more of like the personal element in here. And it's not all business all the time. And I appreciate that you have clearly thought that out to allow for
Yeah.
that
And
space.
there's other different tweaks that we make. Like, I mean, you even had this especially where, so that's structured flexibility, but then the way that we've set up your posting pattern, which is how, posting patterns for people that don't know, that's how you create like a cohesive feed, something that looks good when you first get on someone's Instagram profile. You'll see their feed. It's the collection of all the posts that they're making, and having it be cohesive is just where the photos and the videos, they go together. It looks like a cohesive brand. It's not all over the place. It's not the thumbnails like make sense and actually show who you are and what you do and what you're actually talking about, and not just like your forehead or something like that. But even so, that's, in the plan, we've structured some of that flexibility. But then what's cool is that with your posting pattern, we set it up where there is a pattern, but it's not a recognizable pattern. Sometimes you'll go to someone's page and you'll see like, if there's the grid of the 3 different posts going down, you'll see on the left, there's all their quotes, and in the middle, there's all their videos. And if on the right, there's all their photos, and that works. But then if it's time to post a video and you don't have one, well, you're not going to be consistent for the next couple of days until you get one. Or if, you're supposed to post a quote and it was your daughter's birthday and you want to share that with your followers, well, you have to wait until the next day because it's time to post the quote, not the photo, and you'd mess up your feed. But with yours, you can drop a video, a photo, a quote anytime, and it doesn't mess up what we've already built for you and what you're actually paying for us to do for you, which is really cool.
It is. One of the questions that has come up so many times since working with you, people will reach out to me. These are people that I've engaged with, whether it be a potential client where they just weren't ready to come on board with my team yet. They'll reach out to me and say, wow, you've really leveled up. What is going on? How are you
Yeah.
making this content? You just had a baby. And right, it's all Kenny and your encouragement to keep making good content. So I know there's plenty of people listening right now going, okay, well, I might not have the content. Where do I come up with all these content ideas? I talk a lot about repurposing and looking at whether you've written a book or you have old quotes or even old posts that you can repurpose and turn into something cool. But what I love about what you do, Kenny, at least what you do with me, right? I don't want to set someone else up for this necessarily if that's not part of their package deal, but part of my package deal with you is that we get to meet and have meetings once a month and just make sure that things are moving in a really good way. And you'll tell me, hey, 2 weeks from now, I need 5 quotes. I need 10 short videos, whatever it might be. And that way I can just sit down on 1 or 2 days and do all the content that I need for the month for you. I just give it to you. That way I'm not trying to come up with like, oh gosh, what do I need to do? And so it's nice to be able to bounce those ideas off of you and say, is this a good idea? And Kenny, you're so patient. Thank you. Because I know that when we started this journey a couple months back, I think we're going into month 3, 4. Where are we? I don't know.
4 or
Somewhere.
5, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Since
When we
October, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Wow. Even longer. So when we first started, I had all these crazy big ideas and you were like, yeah, that sounds great. And then now
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wait a minute,
Completely
let's,
different. Yeah.
yeah, totally different. But you've been able to pull out the best of the content that I send you, which is so cool to see. And so I'm loving it.
Totally.
The whole process has been very cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad to see how well it's worked for you. You've got so many great, amazing things going on in your life and business. And that's where like I really wanted to build this for people who, you know, you've always wanted to be able to show up online. And it's so funny because a lot of people, we hear about people where, their real life is not as good as their Instagram. But then a lot of the people I work with are like you, where your Instagram doesn't do who you are or the lifestyle you've been able to build for yourself justice. And there's so many people like that because you're so busy, because you've been able to accomplish so much. You don't have the time to sit down and study brand strategy, and you don't have time to sit down and edit videos, by hand and add captions and edit all the colors and then also make the decisions about all these. Nowadays, I feel like we're all getting so much decision fatigue. You should be focused on what you love and what you do as meaning your business and not, spending all that time focused on how do you post about your business.
That's huge, right? Leveraging a team instead of doing it all yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's huge.
And to go back to kind of like the question you were asking there, where people might be concerned of like, man, I don't know if I can really come up with enough content myself. So that's where, the first thing that we did and that we do with our clients is we sit down and we build your system with you, and everybody's system looks differently. And we go over a bunch of different things. We talk about, the more obvious things that if you follow anyone on Instagram that's talking about this type of stuff, that they'll talk about your color palette, your fonts, the posting pattern, those types of things. Then we dive deeper and we talk about your content sources. And what we've set up with you is like there are things that either you like to do or you are already doing that can create content for you in a very natural way. Like for you, it's the podcast. You don't just have to sit down and make videos all the time. You are already doing a podcast when we met. And we've had months where we take content from the podcast, and we've had months where we're like, let's just go back to me talking on all my videos. And you're able to change that because, like I said, the system is set up to be flexible because your life changes. Like that's how it goes. The system should change with you. It shouldn't be like, well, back in 2018, I made this decision and now I can't do anything different. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what following a real person they change. Like, so it should change with you because your audience is going to feel that. If you're just doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting results you've always gotten.
Hmm. It's been fun. This whole
Yeah,
process
exactly.
it's been fun because as a mom of two little ones, where I am just exhausted all the time, creating the content and knowing that you need it, right? Our commitment is that I need to give you this content, and knowing that I actually have to sit down and go, okay, what do I want to talk about? I get the opportunity to do that. And it's just time for me to focus on the business, the audience, and then put it out there. And without you, Kenny, I do not think that I would be as fulfilled in making that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, of course. And that's, I think that's what's so cool about it is that the responsibility actually, because some when you're only responsible to yourself, you have too much time in your hands to think about, well, what are people going to think about the content, and oh well, what if this doesn't come out right, and my words and all this kind of stuff. When you know that, like, someone, you've already made an agreement and you got to come through because you made the financial investment, now you just got to give us the stuff,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
then also, I think that structure like fosters creativity, where it's like once there is a structure, it's like you have this assurance that, like, I can kind of just do my best, and then you're offloading it and you don't have to keep thinking about it. You don't have to think, oh, how am I going to edit this now, and how am I going to make this sound good? I need to remember to clip this part where I didn't really like how I sounded, or what I mean? Like, all of that is just off your plate, which is like the goal. I mean, that's, you talk about working with teams all the time, and like that's the benefit of working with team in anything. You know what I mean? You just take it off your plate.
Totally. Well, thanks for being a part of my team.
Yeah, yeah. No, love it. I love being a part of it. No, and it's so great to work with you because you operate the same way as I do. I'm super, like, stoked that you're so happy and that it's been working so well for you.
Social media has been this bone of contention for me for so long.
It's hard to do it well. I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. It's hard to do it well. And it's like you can put in so much time. And also, you know, for most people that are listening, probably they're in the same boat, which is that you're always most critical eyes on something that you make. Someone
Mhm.
goes and makes it for you, you're like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, it's great. And that's because you didn't have to decide if it goes this much more to the left or this much more to the right, and all those little things that you think, oh, I could sit down and make this video in an hour. But then you're making all these micro decisions, and all of a sudden you're like, where did the day go? And that's not even writing the caption or any of the other things that really, like, or making the video itself, like recording it. So I just think there's a huge benefit in spending your time in the things that you're good at. And for someone like you and anyone who's in any industry, you have knowledge that someone who isn't in your industry doesn't have. So all you got to do is just start talking about it. And there's other formats. It's like if you're not super into video at first, we can create a custom system for you where you don't post as many videos or you don't post as often. And that's what's cool, is that we can kind of meet you where you're at. And in that setup process, we'll brainstorm with you. I mean, you've had times where, like, okay, I need to make all these videos, but uh, can you give me some, like, hooks to start with? Give me
Mhm.
some headlines to work off of, and then I just reference my notes on a call that we just had of, like, well, you said you want to talk about more about this month. Here's 5 questions, and I throw 5 questions at you, and you make videos off of that. Or I go look through your analytics and I see, okay, well, this post where you talked about hiring went super well. Looks like your audience wants to know more about hiring. Why don't you make another video talking about a different aspect of that? So it's cool to have a second pair of eyes on there too. That's kind of like an outside perspective to kind of give you that benefit.
Yeah. I've always said this, I can market everyone else, but when it comes to my own marketing, I just fall short. It's the classic story, like the shoe cobbler's wife doesn't have shoes, right? It's similar to me, where it's like, yeah, my personal marketing, my personal branding's like, I mean, it's done okay so
Yeah,
far, right? Like I've done okay. But like you said, I am way too critical about doing things on my own. So having your support has been huge. What kind of other businesses do you work with? Like if anyone comes to you from any market, can you build them, a content system?
definitely, definitely. So I would say that, we work with a lot of different types of businesses, and it's not very business specific. You can be in real estate, you can be a doctor, you can be chiropractor or a tax professional or a marketer yourself, or own a roofing company, because at the end of the day we all have value to add. So the point of the content system and the point of like the way that we help people build their social media is we want to help you frame yourself as an expert in your industry. And this is really where you can leverage your social media as almost like a business card. And what I mean by that is like, most people, you meet someone, you give them their business card. And if you've ever been given a business card, where is it? You probably don't know where it is anymore, right? It's like if you're interested right there and right then, and you absolutely need their service, you text them, you call them, you email them. But most of the time, you're just like, oh, great reference. And then it ends up in the trash. And that's just how it goes. But with social media, you can build it as a business card. And the way to do that is number one, is just create content on a consistent basis that adds value to your ideal client. So if you're in real estate, consistently showcasing, not just posting, every time you finally make a sale and sell a house and you show a happy family with a big key, but educating your audience, either your current clients who are following you or your potential clients who are following you, on how mortgages work and the best time to buy. And I live here in Scottsdale. I would love to follow someone who talks about the different kinds of neighborhoods in Scottsdale. And here's the benefit. If you love greenery, these are your spots and these kind of different things. And this is how you can add value on social media. So that's the first step, consistently posting that high quality content that educates, but also kind of just showcases your brand, meaning shows who you are, what you do, and how you do it. You have the unique opportunity on social media today for people to feel like they're already your client or customer, or feel like they've already walked into the door of your business without ever doing that. That's the first step. But then the second step is just networking and getting connected with people on social media. And that can be, connecting with people through the app, finding people and following them and engaging with them and all of that. Where I mean it is more of when you meet someone, get connected with them on social media. When I meet people, some of my biggest and best clients I've met on an airplane, and they own a business and I own a business. And we talk for a little bit and I go, hey man, like, why don't we follow each other on Instagram? You have an Instagram? And we get connected on Instagram, and I get off the flight and I message him. I go, hey, it was really great to meet you. If you're ever looking for help with A, B, and C, I would love the chance to work with you. And 2 months down the road, he goes, hey, I've got like 3 companies that I like run, and I need this, that, and the other thing. And then we work together for 2 or 3 years, and we do that kind of work with them. And that all came from just getting connected on social media. Because once you're connected with someone, they don't have to be a hot lead. They don't have to be interested today, but every day you can, drop value into their lives through short videos, through quotes. You can share about the behind the scenes through your stories and your photos, your family, waking up early and going to work, or here's the disaster that happened today. Like, you've shown like the cat trying to get into your studio, right? But people get to know you, and then when they are thinking about a need they have within your industry, they think of you first. So you obtain like mental real estate for them. I might not be ready to buy a house today, but if I meet you and you're a real estate agent and we get connected on social media, and I'm constantly learning from you little things about mortgage rates and, like I said, local areas. If you like this or that, you should consider looking here or there or the other place. When I am ready to buy a house and I'm thinking about real estate, first person I'm going to think about is you. Because if I'm already getting so much value without paying you just for being your follower, how much more am I going to get from you when I want to become your client? And between now and maybe when I want to use your services, if anyone in my life, in my network of people, need a referral to a real estate agent, I'm gonna be like, oh man, I follow this girl on social media. It looks like she's crushing it. It looks like she really knows her stuff. You should check her out. For instance, like, my wife and I were about to have a baby. Super excited about that. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot to, plan for. You try to do your best to plan for it, of course. And, obviously one of the biggest things that every parent thinks about is sleep. And we all know that we're going to not get a lot of it at first, but that's hopefully not the goal forever. So we've all heard of like probably sleep training at this point. And you even talked to me about like potential people that you know of. Well, my wife owns a skincare clinic, and one of her clients, both, around the time that she got pregnant, the client, she followed this lady on social media that talks about her sleep training business and gives tips and gives value and all these kinds of different things. And 9 months later, client has the baby. They're trying to get sleep, so they purchased her e-course, and Then it works so well that now we're about to have a baby. She tells my wife, like, hey, when you guys, need this, I totally recommend this girl. My wife's already sold. We don't have the baby's not even here yet. All that lady's doing is showcasing who she is, what she does, and how she does it on a daily basis. And her reach is going to just naturally grow, because when you post something that your followers agree with, they're going to either share it or talk about it. And then more people who are like your current followers are going to be connected to you in a very natural and organic way. So you can really leverage your social media as like a business card to, stay in contact and keep people interested as you meet them, whether they're ready to use you or not. But you can also use it to just generate new leads that you haven't even connected with yourself, which is really cool.
It's really powerful. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely everything you're saying, it's happened for me. I mean, I shared this with you just the other day. When I first met you, I think 5 years ago now.
it's been a bit.
It's been a minute. I honestly thought it was too good to be true. I was like, I don't know, because like you said, there's been so many services out there, right? Where it's like, maybe it's a one-off, or hey, let's give you a boost here. And I always try things on my personal account first before I recommend it to anyone. From the first campaign that I did with you, it was a growth campaign. I got a client within the first 2 weeks of that campaign running. She is still my client today. Like we're talking over $30,000 in the first year with this one client based off of one campaign that I ran with you. And so
Yeah.
it works. Like I'm not here just being like, Kenny's great. No, like really, Kenny knows. Kenny is great and he's amazing and he knows. A super big game changer for me personally, but also from from my business standpoint. Huge.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so I'm stoked. I'm
Yeah, I mean,
super
I
stoked.
love hearing that. That's again why I got into this, and what I care about is helping people win at what they're doing and what they love. When you experience it for yourself, you want to help other people do that yourself. And that's been my experience, is like when I am grinding on something and I've created something and I see success in that, it's so great. But it's so much greater to work with someone and help them create those results themselves. I love it because it's just a cool opportunity of, like you said, it's not like I only work with dentists or marketers. I work with everybody. So there's so much variety in it for me, of the different kinds of people that I get to meet and work with and help and create different kinds of results, and that means, of course, I can't give you like, oh yeah, we're going to do A, B, and C and you'll get D, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
But once we get in there, the basics are the same, which is also really cool.
You found the secret recipe, I think. The secret recipe to making it happen. But the consistency thing for me has been just really powerful with my audience, and they're seeing that I'm consistently posting, and they think, and I've gotten messages about this, like, where do you find the time? And I want to come back to this because it doesn't take a lot of effort on our part, meaning like the person actually creating the content themselves up front. It all falls on Kenny. Sorry, Kenny, but truly, like, that's why you're hiring him, to take that off your plate, right? I haven't found a service like yours, which is why I'm like all on fire for what you do. It's consistent, the brand's cohesive, it's just perfect. No, really. And I don't say that about a lot of services that I receive from other marketers. What I loved is that you shared that, you wanted to find something and it just didn't exist. And so you went out and you built it, right? It's something that we share. I was taken for a serious ride by a marketing company before I knew how to do any of the stuff I know now. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was like normal. Like marketers are considered sleazy, stereotypical, car salesman, right? And so I wanted
Yeah.
to make a better name for the industry, at least a little bit, like help it out a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like you do that too. You do it really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my best. That's for sure. I want to give people experience that I would want myself, and that's like that client mentality, like I said. And I mean, that's so great to hear. I love when people are surprised, whether that's the price tag or whether they've already paid and they're like, hey, could we do this? And it's not what we talked about. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm just so excited to, I've done a lot of other things in social media marketing, and I've always wanted to do content. I grew up like making videos with my friends and doing all these kind of different things. And this is just a really fun way for me to spend my time, like building a company like this. And so I'm just down to play ball with people, meet them where they're at. And I just know that if you help enough people, you never have to worry about the things that you need, because it just will be a natural result, and I'm really trying to, I wouldn't say, like, that's the other thing. Like, I appreciate everything that you're saying, and I'm so glad that you're happy with the service, but I wouldn't say I've always operated like this. But the last several years of my life, I've really, I've had so much great time to reflect because of the circumstances in the world. And I've just wanted to see, like, how can I take things to a new level, and how can they be more fulfilling for myself? And that's just selfish motivation. I want it to be more fulfilling for me. And what's funny about that is that the answer to that was caring less about myself and more about the client, and giving more, putting more on the table, and not trying to, like, take as much from the table as I could. It's actually made it more fulfilling for myself. But then also just, like, what's really going to help people, So I mean, it's so cool to hear that, because that has been my goal, and that's what I'm trying to, like, hold on to, like, very tightly, because I think it's so easy when you get into the groove of things to kind of forget either why you started or the way that you used to go about things at the beginning. And I've definitely been subject to that, where, I had the best of intentions, and I'm not saying at the end I didn't, but I just didn't have I wasn't delivering the same quality of people as maybe I had in the beginning. So this isn't my first go around. I can't even count how many businesses I've started and stopped or changed and stuff like that. So I really feel passionate about this. I know where this is going for so many people, and I just want to make sure I'm doing the best job I can.
Helping others win at doing what they love, right?
That's it. That's the move.
It's so awesome to hear just how humble you are. I think that there's a handful, I've only met a handful of entrepreneurs that can truly say, like, yeah, my headspace wasn't really, like, in the best, in the best state when building the company initially, but now, I've made the customer, like, the focus, and then it's just going to come back to you tenfold, 100-fold, right? With the power of referrals.
Yeah.
I just appreciate that that's how you operate.
Thank you. I think that it doesn't matter what kind of company that you have, what kind of business you're running. I feel like it's like a funny thing, because it doesn't seem like that kind of attitude benefits you, but actually benefits you more than not having that attitude, which is, like, the funny thing. It's like you give everything up and then you get more back than you gave originally, and that's the whole, like, you get what you give kind of vibe. And I feel like any business, any industry can benefit from that. We need probably a lot more of that in the world now than we have ever before.
Absolutely. And I don't talk about this enough on my podcast, but I know that, both you and I, we love Jesus.
Exactly.
And keeping the focus centered on, like, all right, Lord, what do you want from me? How can we best glorify you in what we're doing? And I feel like with even just that simple prayer, man, it radiates, and, like, okay, that's obvious. Let's do this. Let's help these people. Let's do these things. At least for me, I can't speak for you, right? But when that's the center, when that's the focus, everything works out, and then you meet cool people, right?
Yeah, and that's the other benefit of that, is that the people, that's the thing with social media in general. Like, when I'm working with clients and I'm talking about how they post, so many people get caught up on the algorithm and how many likes they got, how many views they're getting. But if you're just consistently being yourself and showing, like I said, what a brand is it encompasses, the right brand will show your client who you are, what you do, how you do it, and give them the feeling of what it would be like to be your client or customer or employee or whatever it might be, right? And it's like, if you are just consistently being yourself, you're going to attract other people into your business that match that vibe and that, like, have the same energy and share the same values. And we've all worked with people who maybe we didn't really get along with, or you've had people where you have to fire them as a client because they're difficult to work with, and that's not fun for anybody. So I feel like the benefit of that is just exponential. And for me, that was really what you brought up about God, was what the different mentality that I've had these last couple of years that's changed that for me was, I believe in Jesus, and I know from his life and what's written about him that before he was out there doing all the things that most people know him for, miracles and preaching, he was a carpenter, meaning he bought and sold goods and he provided services to other people. You don't just build, you're not a carpenter if you're just building stuff for yourself. And so I try to think about, like, what would it have been like to do business with Jesus? I doubt he would have ripped me off. I doubt he would have, oh man, I'm going to build you the best house ever. And you walk up to the land and there's a shack. You know what I mean? I feel like he would have been, an honest player in business, and he would have been transparent and just been looking to do his best and serve people, and so that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's been fulfilling for me, which is cool.
I love that. Thank you for that reminder. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Cool. Oh man, this has been so fun. Well, I know that you have an extremely generous special offer for Tuesday Tea listeners. Let's get into that a little bit.
Definitely.
So Kenny is offering $300 off. This is amazing, you guys. Listen up. $300 off for the lifetime when you sign up for his services. The deal, though, is this: you have to lock in at least the first 3 months. And here's why. Because it takes a lot of time to curate the content, to make sure everything is like cohesive and looking good and your brand is coming together. So there is that 3-month minimum, you guys, but it's so worth it. I'm telling you, like, your life will just be better completely. Take this task off your plate, give it over to the professional. $300 off every single month moving forward with Kenny. It's the ultimate gift. And just thank you. Thank you for taking the time and for giving this gift to the listeners.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's so much fun to talk about. And like, it's funny because this doesn't even feel like a podcast because we talk all the time like this, and we always have. I'm just looking to work with more people that have the right mentality and they kind of align with the same values that we're talking about here. And maybe they have some of the same problems that you've had with trying to be consistent and having a cohesive brand and all these kind of different things. Those are the type of people we want to serve, So we're excited to offer something that can be very generous, because if someone's willing to make the investment in us, then we want to make that back to them.
Amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. That's great. If you guys want to connect with Kenny, you've got to go check out his Instagram. First of all, it's gorgeous. Him and his wife got married on Santorini. Oh my gosh, these photos are incredible. It really is just a beautiful travel vlog. Is really like on your Instagram. It's incredible. It's at I am Kenny Rodriguez, and I will put all of the links on how you can connect with him in the show notes to get the special Tuesday Tea offer with his services. What's the best way, Kenny? Do you want them just to message you on Instagram if they're interested? How do you want them to?
They can reach out to me through Instagram and just, let me know that you heard about me or connect with me initially through the podcast. That's great. And we can go from there. Then we can also include some links in the show notes too, if someone wants to, go directly to the offer and book a consultation call. And every system that we set up is customized and flexible to your specific needs and goals. So this isn't something where you're just going to click a button and pay and then get content. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to understand what your needs are, and we're going to come up with a solution for those needs.
Nice. All right. Sounds good. I'll have links to all of that. Thank you so much, Kenny. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Always good. Always good to talk to you.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. I'll see you next week. Bye.